So, this is Naureen Hyat, more commonly known as Nina. Nina has an exciting story that's led her here. She was born in Lahore, grew up in Islamabad, and then and she got most of her working experience in Lahore as well. The story is interesting because all her life she wanted to be a doctor, and when the time came around to apply for medical school, she ended up getting into one of the top schools, but it was in a different city and she didn't want to leave her family behind. So she decided to switch gears and went into finance. Ended up doing a bachelor's degree in finance and then subsequently did a CFA, and ended up working at this credit rating agency called PACRA, which is where I met her. And we were part of the same team. She bossed me around quite a lot then, and she bosses me around quite a bit now as well.
I have my turn.
And so when we met together, that's kind of from a work experience, that's who she is. I think Noreen otherwise is an extremely passionate, empathetic individual. She's very driven. She's one of the few women working in tech and finance, so that's really cool. She has her own head, and no one can tell her what to do. So that's a small introduction.
That's really very generous. Seriously, thank you. It's going to be tough to match that, and I hope I remember your history. But I feel Humza is an artist at heart. He's an entrepreneur by calling. What really makes him stand out is that he has his head above his shoulders and he's very strong-willed, which is what has brought him to the level that he is at right now. From what I understand, Humza very, very closely follows the motto of his university, which is challenge convention, change the world.
Change our world.
Change our world. And I think he's been doing that and he's proven that already. One thing that I think most people from his school are very, very proud of, and I'm sure he is too. He studied in a very, very prestigious school in Pakistan, in Lahore, which is called HSN College, and I think that's where his training really came about, into really coming into the world, feeling that they can do things better than everyone else, and they actually do ultimately. He did his bachelor's from Clark in Boston, and it was primarily in economics, but from what I know of Humza, I think he always wanted to make a difference, and whatever path he set on, it was with an eye to actually change the world and make it a better place. And when he came back to Pakistan, I was lucky enough to have met him at PACRA, the credit rating agency where we were working at. And luck had it that we started working on the microfinance sector, and I had a lot to learn, irrespective of the fact that I had joined the company before him. He picked up a field that he had never really even studied on very, very fast, and now he's actually leapfrogged, and today he's doing it better than most people in this field all over are actually doing. And I think what really meshed well was I think there was an innate vision that brought us together in being friends and also ultimately setting up this together. So there are lots of problems, and I think the base of all of them really it culminates and it's triggered from the grassroots, be it about exclusion on various fronts, and that exclusion is not only financially, but that exclusion can be in terms of literacy, that inclusion can be in terms of acceptance of people who are different, or even any sort of marginalized community. So exclusion can be in various levels. for us, we found that exclusion in the field that we were working in, and that was actually by chance, because we were rating in a sector that initially didn't seem, like a sector where one would actually come across ground level realities or really issues that you could actually feed on when you're talking about credit ratings. But microfinance is a sector that really deals with ground level poverty alleviation issues. And the sector has been criticized for the longest time for having high interest rates. Now, the mandate of the sector was really to enhance financial inclusion, because in Pakistan, over 100 million people do not have access to financial services. And that's a huge concern, because, access to finance, especially for the lower to middle income households, is imperative for people to be able to deal with their daily lives, to get to a point where they can actually even improve their standard of living. So, feeding on microfinance, that's where we really came across that issue. And you can...
Yeah, I mean, so I think that there's that need, there's the marginalization aspect. And I think as a nation, we're very complacent. And I think that runs across everything that we do. We're okay with whatever is happening. And up until very, very recently, at least in our lifetimes, we've seen few innovations that have come through from Pakistan, and that critical thinking, that thinking against convention, is limited. And I think that's also something, at least in when I was growing up, I was taught to challenge, just to think, to critically analyze. And I think part of that came from there, to see some NGOs doing some great work in financial inclusion, yet being criticized for the kind of rates that they were charging individuals, and then also understanding that despite that criticism being there, they're not truly doing anything about it. So that's where we kind of stepped in. Yeah, it's a fully packed day. So I typically wake up around 7:30. I take a shower. I take an hour and a half to kind of get ready. That's my me time. That's my slow time. And I think when we get to the office around 9, I think we hit the office running. So the first thing that we do is we've built a really cool MIS dashboard, and the team kind of gathers around and we kind of deep dive into what happened yesterday. We'll be able to meet our targets. Just checking up on how we performed. And then for a lot of my time, that kind of goes into dealing with the team, kind of looking into where we're headed, how we're going to grow, what challenges we're facing, whatever is from the operational point of view, what's in the pipeline, and how do we kind of push that forward. Then sometimes it kind of is spent sitting down with Naureen, and then kind of strategizing a little bit about where we're headed. We're still very, very small as a team, so everyone's kind of wearing multiple hats. And it's like a 12-hour working day. So by the time we're done, we're poofed out. But we do something really cool. We've stopped, but for the past few weeks. But around midday or late afternoon, we do like half an hour yoga, which is kind of really helpful. It kind of re-energizes the body, limbers me up a little bit. But yeah.
I think entrepreneurship is... it's falsely glamorous. It really isn't a very glamorous journey. And yeah, as Humza mentioned, my also day begins really early. The tough part is I don't sleep very well, so it seems like I'm like working even when I'm sleeping, But
it's because you reply to WhatsApp at 4:00 in the morning, So it's that innate nature that other people in the US, they've messaged you, pinged you, you need to ping them back, kind of. It's dangerous.
These people think I have FOMO, but I think that's what entrepreneurship really asks for you to be just on your feet all the time. So I think the day really is a lot about firefighting, a lot about strategizing, and a lot about thinking beyond yourselves. And I think every day goes like that. With our other co-founder, even Nadeem, he's also he might be much older than us, but I think mentally and ambition-wise, he's definitely our age group, because he's like on his feet and he keeps everyone on his feet also. So I think we on our own have enough to handle, but with him on board, there are many more exciting projects that come on every day. I think one element that I it seems like it's fun. These guys think I go on vacation every time, but I have a lot of traveling, especially recently, and I think that really can be. It can really. You need to be your best. You not only you need to pitch all the time, but you need to network. At the same time, you need to learn what's going on better in the world than we are doing. And so I think that's a major part of my role also in the company. And I think trying to manage those hats, it's challenging, but I think if everyone could do it, then we wouldn't have been here.
In Pakistan, when we think about opening a bank account, we think about walking up to the bank, going inside, waiting in a line, waiting for an individual to come up, giving in your form, giving in your documents, probably which are not enough in most cases, and then kind of going through that arduous journey to actually avail any financial service. I applied for a credit card. It took me about 55 days to get it. Within those 55 days, that the verification that they had done on me as an individual, where I lived, my bank account, so on and so forth, a lot of those things had already changed by the time my card arrived. So I mean, it's antiquated, right? It's a very human intensive, paper intensive, time consumptive journey. I think what Tez has done is leverage technology. We've leveraged the one piece of infrastructure that is extremely affordable now, which is a smartphone. It's as low as 7,000-8,000 rupees. So what, like $50? Yeah. $50-ish dollars. And 70 plus million smartphones in the market. So we've used that piece of infrastructure, and we've said, rather than you going out and finding a financial service, we'll put that in your hand, in your pocket. Use us anytime you want, anytime, anywhere. So I think that's the spin that we've added. It's difficult for people to understand that. It's difficult for them to understand how can you lend without, how can you serve someone without actually meeting them. But I think that's where we're leveraging learnings from across the globe, learnings from China, India, Africa, even the South America. And we're understanding, how do we provide better financial services to our customers, to the average Pakistani.
Yeah, and I think one thing Humza mentioned, the arduous journey that customers face right now, if they get those products to begin with. For most customers, their needs are not matched. It's just one product fit all. Banks, institutions are really, really averse. They're they belong to an era that's long gone, and what we are trying to do with this is to provide instant gratification. And like Humza mentioned, his credit card came after 55 days, and he's a banked customer. And he's
I'm an aware customer. I'm a literate customer.
He's a literate customer.
Yeah.
We we have tried to shorten this journey for people who have never had access to financial services, who do not even exist in the credit bureau, set aside, understand what financial services are. And we provide a loan within a matter of 10 minutes for a new customer. And for customers who keep on repeating on our platform, 2 to 3 minutes. So that's groundbreaking. For someone, who never could imagine of availing of financial services, is now, repeating with this on a regular basis, fulfilling their consumption needs, and I think what we really, I think the pride element can't come right now because we're still, there's a long way for us to go, but something that, that helps us sleep at night is we are helping people really make a difference in their daily lives, helping them, pay for something as basic as food, as essential as medicine, even to pay for school bills. So this is where, our our benefit comes into the lives of people?
I think there are different types of measures of success, and I think at different points in time they're going to be different. Sort of, let's put the business on the other side, right? I think at an individual level, I think as a team that we're working on something here, some of the people that have come into Days have learned, have utilized Days as a learning platform, and gone on to do other things in their lives. One of them wanted to kind of immigrate out of Pakistan. We were able to offer the ability for him to experiment, improve his skills, and go on. Someone wanted to be an entrepreneur. They just left last month, very, very passionate, empowered, and excited about their entrepreneurship journey. So I think at some level, the people who we work with, our team, I think, impacting their lives means a lot to us. And then, of course, like Naureen just mentioned, it's the customer as well, right? So if we're able to just, give someone, someone's out of cash, they have to pay their daughter's school fee, and they're able to do that, that's super empowering. And sometimes when we are sitting on the call center and we hear some of those journeys through, I think they really touch us. So I think making a meaningful difference is the true measure of success. I think everything else, as long as we're doing that, everything else will follow through.
I don't think I have to add on to that. I think, these days especially, there's been this wave of entrepreneurship all around the world. It's a little more nascent in Pakistan, more recent. And you see youngsters, even older people, just wanting to take that plunge into entrepreneurship, which is great. But I think it's very, very important to understand the challenges that come with it and to be prepared for it, because I think many people just jump into it without knowing the repercussions or the challenges that they have to face, which is why even the failures are okay, but I think they fail as entrepreneurs, not as companies. And I think so it's very important to make sure they have a purpose before they get into just pursuing any kind of company. And if they have that purpose, I think then your vision becomes much clearer, even if you have to pivot from one idea to another. But I think it's important to be purpose driven, no matter what you're doing.
I mean, you're talking about people who jump into entrepreneurship without realizing the full scale of it or the commitment to it. I think we also did the kind of same thing, right? So we said we wanted to do something, and we've learned along the way, and it's great, and we've made mistakes and we've made fantastic decisions. But I think what's kind of been our kind of compass is that kind of focus on just make sure you're doing it for the right purpose, and I think that makes sense, right? So that I think that's important.